All right, folks, it is Monday night. It is time for another live Q&A. It is 4 p.m. here, local, but I know the time has changed. So this is our second session with a different start time. So hopefully you're here. I know some folks unfortunately missed it last week. I don't know if there were a lot of things that happened last week, but stuff is happening. We just came back from the Las Vegas drone meetup. We had a ton of fun over there. Met with quite a few of you, hopefully, I know a few of you because we talked about this, that you're watching the Monday Night Live and watching the Friday show as well. So welcome. We've got quite a few in attendance already. I'm going to say hi to a bunch of folks. If you're new here, leave your question in the comment in the chat, and then Jason is in the back room. He's going to review them and then put them in my chat so that I can answer them. And then we'll go from there. Good stuff. All right. Let's say hi to James Cox is here. We have Richard Hooker, Curtis Warren, KitKat is here, Eric Herschneider. We have Leo de Cordanis, Ralph, Engineer Drone Services, that's our friend Minot, Just Johnny, Fire Chief, Dave DeVore, Jeff Hannon is here, Jeff Schruseman. We have Highland Style 42. That's a new name, I think, maybe not. STL Woodworker. We have Sergio de la Garza, Island, I said that, Hike and Fly, Paul Guidice, I guess, Guidis, Steve A, Affadasia, okay. Drone Eagle, LLC, is here, Dave Owen, Jerry Martin, I see, we have Mark, Aeroscan, Cloud Camper, Flight Media, Bluegrass UAS is here, Glenn Gill, Brian Wellman, Old Deadeye, FTFO Media. We have Sir In Moon. I think maybe, I was going to say, I talked to Ian this weekend. We talked about his handle, I think. James DVB, that's our friend James Von Boeven from the community, who has been a long-time follower and long-time student friend. Night Flight, who else? UAS Cincy. We have Phil D Studio, Bah Hunter, Salt. It gets harder for me to read all these screen names because YouTube doesn't give me the full name anymore. They just give me the handle. Salty Air Visual Media LLC. We have Tango, Island Style. Who else? Dave DeVore. Anyways, everyone. Hi, folks. Welcome. Somebody says you are not Italian. I am not Italian, indeed. I am not Italian.
You like Italian dressing though?
Italian dressing? No, I just dress as just a normal person. Jonathan, oh yeah, Night Flight is Jonathan Jackson. That's right. Okay, KitKat, let's get started with the questions. Get to the good stuff. I'm sure there will be questions about the DJI issues. My question is that if DJI does get banned, will it affect the drone models or just all drones? And if I bought a new Flip, will that still be able to fly it? Okay, so let's, we had some good discussions this weekend about the potential DJI ban. Let's be clear, one thing, there's no DJI ban at the moment, okay? There's no DJI ban at the moment. What's looming potentially on the horizon is DJI being added to the FCC covered list, which would mean that new DJI models would no longer be able to be approved by the FCC. Okay, that's kind of the certainty that we have right now. If DJI does not get audited by December 23rd of this year, they will be added to the FCC list, covered list, which means that no new models would be able to get approved by the FCC. Okay. That's the certainty that we have because this is in the NDAA 2025 language that's been passed, voted, done. So what some folks might be referring to is the FCC just gave themselves the authority to potentially ban models of from certain companies that are added to the FCC list. They would be able to retroactively ban drones that are added to the FCC list. I'm going to say this. the vote that the FCC did had nothing to do with DJI. The vote that the FCC did had to do with Chinese telecom companies that have been caught with their hand in the cookie jar doing bad things. And rightfully so, the FCC is trying to prevent them from adding their parts inside of other devices or to continue selling devices in the United States that are bad devices. Okay. So that's what they voted. That's why they gave themselves the authority to do this. Now, the way they give themselves the authority is by being able to retroactively ban models that had been previously approved if the company is a threat, a national security threat, and if they are on the covered list. So some people have stretched it and said that, well, DJI, if they get added to the covered list, then potentially their drone models could be banned. Well, I want to clarify a few things, and I'm not saying that I'm right, but I want to use a little bit of logic, even though logic in politics doesn't always work. But those telecom equipment, first off, are typically not owned by private citizens. Drones are. The company has been caught with their hands in a cookie jar doing wrong things. So are they possibly going to retroactively ban some of their models? Yeah, absolutely. Is there a reason to do this to DJI at the moment? No, there hasn't been any audit. DJI hasn't been proven to be a security threat. And you're saying, well, they've been going after DJI. They could do this. Yes. But this would mean that they would take away they would prevent currently approved DJI drones. You have an Air 2S, for example. They would prevent these drones from being approved. It doesn't break the drone. It just means it's no longer FCC approved. It just means that it's no longer FCC approved. That's it. Are they going to do this? I don't think so, personally. And you can call me an optimist. You can call me whatever you want, but I don't believe they are going to do this because it's a bit of a stretch to go after several million devices that have not been proven to be a risk and to take them away from the hand of consumers, which is kind of historically not really something that the FCC has done at grand scale like this. I think it's the FCC opening themselves up to lawsuits, although it's government, they probably don't care about lawsuits. But I think there's a PR nightmare for them to do this with no apparent reason. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. In other discussions that we've had with other people that I will not name, it's been kind of clarified from some office at the FCC that they would not go after drones and retroactively ban drones. And so you take that with a grain of salt as well. But at the end of the day, we get a ton of questions all the time about this DJI thing. Would it break your drone? No, it would not. They don't have the ability to go individually into your drone and say, you can't fly anymore. All they would do, and they can't prevent you from, they can't stop you from using the airwaves if that device was approved before. All they could potentially do, which is, again, unlikely, is go back and retroactively ban the DJI Air 2S. Well, they better have a good reason to do this, to basically say, well, this device is a national security, and then we're going to ban it. So again, I doubt that they will. But there you have it. Again, there is enforcement as well. Keep in mind that they would have to enforce this. The FCC has a history of decades ago. I think they tried to put something in place, and people basically said, we ain't going to do that. And then the FCC came back and said, well, never mind, we're not going to do that. So I'm going to stop talking about this. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about it. So I wanted to kind of set the record straight about what is and what is not a reality today. At the moment, the only thing that we are pretty much certain of is that come December, DJI will be added to the FCC covered list. And if they are, then new models will not be able to be approved, meaning that we will not see them in the United States being sold. Done. Cool. All right. I know there will be more questions about this, but I want to set that straight. So Richard said, do you think that all drones operators going to federal parks and other areas where drones are not allowed will hurt it for everyone? Of course they will. Yep. Lots of people are being that guy these days. Yes, with the government shutdown, I heard that there's a rampant issue with, I don't know if it's rampant, but issues with people flying drones in national parks. I mean, cool. It just doesn't help anyone down the line for sure. Concerning the DJI ban, there's no DJI ban. Based off what they won't tell us, when will iPhone be banned, as they are made in China as well? The issue is not so much that things are made in China. The issue is that DJI is a Chinese-owned company. iPhones are not. They're owned by Apple, even though they're made in China. One could argue that, if China wanted to do bad things, if they wanted to listen to people, they would put chips inside of iPhones when they build them, and it would be a lot easier. But then put them in drones, supposedly. So yeah, I don't see iPhones becoming banned anytime soon because they're made in China. They might be taxed, tariffed for being made in China, but that's about it. Besides Pilot Institute, where can I go to learn more about drones? Anyone have recommendations for learning the details, such as understanding motor, power, lift, and flight controls in more detail? We do have a course for that, but there's also, if you're looking to build your own stuff, there are YouTube channels out there that do that. Any suggestion for a new drone coverage like DJI Care Refresh? I mean, getting insurance is really the way to do it. If you, I know it's not as cheap as Care Refresh, but yeah, getting insurance to cover, whole insurance to cover your drone and getting the money if you crash it, that would be the way to do it. Brian says, I use Pilot Institute for my Part 107. Thank you. I'm in Tennessee. I purchased a Mavic Pro 4. Awesome. Could I use that for mapping? I was thinking of taking your mapping class. It's not necessarily a mapping drone. The problem with a lot of these non-enterprise drones is that they don't really have the ability to be controlled autonomously through a mapping mission to do the grid pattern to collect the data. So, excuse me. So it's not a bad drone for the quality of the image to take the photos, but it's going to be harder to control it to take those photos in there. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that one. Has anyone found a good insurance option for DJI drones? There are plenty of insurance companies out there, so I would do a research and figure out who has the best rate and the best coverage, and then go with them. What's the likelihood of the FCC will look into DJI? I mean, the FCC is going to look into DJI because they're going to put them on their covered list more than likely on December 23rd. So, by the way, speaking of this, I should have said that earlier, but this audit that needs to happen by DJI, if it doesn't happen, then DJI is basically found guilty of something that they haven't proven to be guilty of, which obviously is a major issue. But not only that, with the government shutdown that's hopefully ending today, from what I read in the headlines, we've lost another month, a little over a month of the government not doing the audit. So there's a push right now to ask for an extension of the audit for another year. I don't know if they're going to go for it, but this is your chance to reach out to your local representative and make sure you let them know that this audit needs 100% to happen. Actually, DJI is asking for the audit because they're apparently pretty positive that they can pass an audit and with flying colors. And so the audit needs to happen. The results need to be made public before anything happens to DJI, and that needs to be clear. So you need to be vocal. I recommend you go on the Drone Advocacy Alliance website and droneadvocacy.alliance.com, and you find the thing that's on there regarding, it's called Section 1709 of the NDAA of 2025, National Defense Authorization Act. And and then you talk to your representative. There's some language in there that can help you contact them. So it's at this stage, the last chance is not to wait on DJI to do something. It's for you to be vocal about your rights as a pilot. Okay. I have a Nevada and an Air 3. Will I still be able to get parts and repair on those? Yes, it looks like parts are not affected. You still have the ability to get parts and fix the drone. I'm thinking about getting into the agriculture drone business. I have 2 years before I retire at 55. What steps should I take to position myself to get started? I'm already in your Part 107 class. Yeah, several things in here. Obviously, getting into the agriculture business is more than just flying the drone. You need to understand everything else. So I don't know how much background you have in this, but if you don't have any background, obviously it's going to make it a lot more difficult. So I would start learning about the agricultural world in general and how drones can be used in that setting and what problem the drone is solving that is being solved in a different manner today. So from plant health analysis with NDVI NDVI to what am I thinking of? To spraying using a large drone. Obviously, there's going to be more certification requirements. You're going to need to be able to fly a drone over 55 pounds. At the moment, it requires a 44807 exemption, 44807, 49 USC 44807 exemption. And then it requires a Part 137 approval as well. Not 107, it does require that as well, but 137, this is the ability to spray chemicals from an aircraft, in this case, a drone. I think that's it. That's all I can say about this. But yeah, flying a drone over 55 pounds and then spraying chemicals. Can I rebuy DJI Care Refresh if it lapsed 6 months ago? No. DJI at this point, because they're having issues bringing drones into the country, they have stopped selling new DJI Care Refresh. If you have an existing Care Refresh, they will honor it and get your drone fixed. But if you are trying to get a new Care Refresh, they're not selling that anymore in the United States. Any new testing information about the Part 107 for 2026? May not get the test taken before end of year. Nope, there's no changes to Part 107. There hasn't been changes to Part 107 in several years now. I had someone the other day trying to argue with me that our course was recorded 2 years ago and that it's not up to date. Well, it is up to date because the regulation hasn't changed in 2 years. And I don't have a reason to get back on camera to record something that would be exactly the same because it was recorded 2 years ago. So we do keep the course updated. Some videos, some of the stuff hasn't changed in almost a decade since Part 107 came out in 2016. And so again, there's no reason to change that, but we have re-recorded a lot of videos that had new content. So the course is absolutely up to date. And no, there's no changes this year to Part 107 at the moment. There will likely be changes to Part 107 in 2026 at the end of the year once Part 108 goes live, if they make changes to Part 107 because of Part 108, which is likely, at which point we will update the course and have it ready for everyone. Friedman, FFF Friedman says, non-DJI, anyone using other cameras than GoPro, anyone with S-Bus control, any with S-Bus control. I don't think so. Other than getting a camera specifically for that purpose, but from the big brand, Insta360, GoPro, and DJI that do action cameras, none of them, as far as I know, have S-Bus control. First State FPV says, what happens to everyone that purchased Care Refresh? Like I said, DJI is honoring that DJI will not send drones or equipment back to the US. They're trying their best to get that equipment in and get them fixed. They have centers in the United States where they can fix drones and repair drones. And so that's where that equipment is going. Clat Camper says, so if the FCC disproves that, then the FAA will not grant waivers. The FAA does not ask for that information in their waiver. The FAA doesn't care really about this in their waivers. I have a DJI Mavic Pro 1, okay, the original. Can you point me in the right direction to a reliable place where I can buy older batteries? Oh, interesting. The used market is really going to be where you can find them. Yeah, it's getting harder to find batteries for older drones for sure. Absolutely. Do you think that DJI could or would drop a firmware update or restrict usage in any way to limit or break DJI drones in the United States? No, absolutely. And you said, to apply pressure on the FCC. The FCC doesn't care about that. This is probably what the FCC actually wants, if anything, is to see DJI trying to screw their customers. I can tell you with almost 100% certainty that DJI will not do that. And there's a reason for it. DJI is continuing to sell drones outside the United States. And imagine if a company decided to do this, what kind of signal would it send to the rest of their customer anywhere in the world? They would tank their sales by doing this. And again, DJI has nothing against you as a user. The issues that are being put in here is not because of users, it's because of the government. So they have no reason to screw you. And also remember that all these restrictions could be gone tomorrow. Depending on who gets in the White House, for example, or who gets somewhere else that's going to vote all these things. I remember TikTok was going to get banned until the day before it got banned, and then it didn't. So would DJI do this? I almost with 100% certainty can tell you that they will not, because of what's at stake for them, their reputation with the rest of the world. They would be tanking their sales. So. And they've repeated over and over that they will continue to support drones in the United States. I'm going to sell my DJI Mini 4 Pro since I didn't really use it much as much as I thought. Should I sell it now or later for better value? And that's up to you. So that's always a gamble, right? My guess is that DJI drones are going to get harder and harder to be found, and that the used market is going to go up because demand and supply. But that's just my prediction. So you decide based on the information that you have if you think that the value is going to go up or not. Mini 4 Pro is a great platform for sure. Some of us have purchased the Mavic 4 Pro. Would this ban affect that drone, being that it was just released and not sold in the United States? No, because that drone has an FCC approval. So it's no more at risk than potentially any other drone. Just because it was released recently doesn't really make any difference. Blue Ridge Mountain Drone says a co-pilot is flying a Mavic Classic with a parachute. Okay. He has a waiver to fly over people and cars. Can I use his drones to fly over people and cars, or does the waiver stay with him and not the aircraft? You're going to have to read his waiver and see the provision in his waiver. He may have to be present if you're going to use it, but it depends on how he wrote the waiver. And also it depends on, you want to use his drone. Again, that's going to have to be, you're going to have to look at his waiver and provisions in it. If the FCC pulled a cert and a frequency in amateur ban, run with FCC technician class license. So the FCC could not pull out the frequencies, because the frequencies are the same frequencies that your phone is using and your computer and everything else to connect to the internet, for example, 2.4 to 5.8 gigahertz. And so it's not something that they can pull. These frequencies are designed for devices to use. They're shared frequencies that are used for a lot of devices, so they can't just turn off these frequencies. And remember that I don't know about the FCC technician class license. I'm going to have to read up on that. But an FCC radio license, for example, that would be, as far as we have research, only for recreational usage and not used for commercial purposes. But I'm going to read about this FCC technician license, see what that is. Just got in. What happened with Part 108? Is there a ruling? No ruling at the moment. The the FAA is currently reviewing the comments that were left on the Part 108 NPRM, Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. And so we're going to have to wait until probably, at the earliest, I think they said April of next year. My guess is more like August to November of next year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, no changes at the moment. It's all proposed stuff, and the comment period is over, and they're reviewing all this. And I'm sure they're not reviewing anything because everybody's been on a 40-day vacation. Question, why do you think that you have not heard anything about the drone ban on local or national news, since I believe they use them as well as search and rescue? Good question. Probably because nobody has talked to those folks locally to tell them that this is a looming issue and that it's going to hurt American businesses. Yep. I would call you local. Local news agencies are always looking for things to talk about. There has been plenty of articles written in the national press, if you want, or in the specialized press, like tech journals and things like that. Mondo Sky Vision says, I'm currently building an FPV drone. Do I need a remote ID? Yes, you will need to meet the requirements of remote ID if the drone is over 250 grams. So a module is, well, this is kind of controversial because the way that remote ID regulation is written, you would have to kind of come up with your own method to meet the remote ID requirements. But I think putting a module on top is going to be good enough for this. Gabby Ortiz says, where is the best place to attach a remote ID module and a beacon light on the Mini 4 Pro without affecting flight performance? Center of gravity. I would not be worried about center of gravity. That drone has plenty of power to, carry a remote ID module and a beacon. It's very lightweight. I would be more worried about putting it right on top of the GPS module, which would affect performance. So I would put it right on top of the battery compartment because that's where there's not a whole lot of electronics, at least not electronics that can be blocked. Not in the front of the drone because the top front, that's where the GPS chip is located. So yeah, I would put it right on top of the battery compartment. And you can put both of those kind of together next to each other. Thank you for that answer. Would I still be able to ship back to DJI for repair? I don't remember what question that was about. Let me scroll back up and see if I can see it. Yeah, I have a Nevada 3. Would I still be able to get parts and repairs on those? I mean, if you have DJI Care Refresh, then yes, you can send it, or you can find a third party that's going to have access to those parts and then fix it for you. My guess is that as we see my guess is that we're going to see more people going into business of fixing DJI drones as a third party because DJI will not be selling any more Care Refresh. Eventually, these will expire. Everyone will be out of Care Refresh, and there's going to be an opportunity for someone who's entrepreneurial out there to buy the parts from DJI directly and then do the Care Refresh for folks, and people will just pay out of pocket to get their drone fixed. Do you have a trustworthy site where all Mavic 1 Pro batteries can be bought? I don't, unfortunately. At this point, your best bet for all Mavic batteries is going to be to find a used deal for someone that hasn't flown them and took good care of them when storing them. That's the only thing I can say. I'm fairly new to drone and taking your Part 107 course right now. Awesome. I'm wondering, do rules about flying over people apply to indoor flight? Good question. Inside an indoor stadium, for example. So no, you can technically fly indoors when there is a roof. With that said, in a stadium, I would definitely not fly a drone over people unless you have approval from the folks in the stadium. They do control what you do inside the stadium, and I can almost guarantee you with full certainty that you do not have the authority to fly inside there. So there's that. If I were to fly over people inside of a stadium, I would do it with a micro drone, something sub 250 with prop guards that can do very, very minimal damage if it hits someone. The chances of someone throwing something at the drone to take it down is pretty high, and as such, you want to make sure that you're covered. Yep. What kind of work can I do with the Air 3S? I mean, your imagination is the limit. Quite frankly, there's not a whole lot other than thermal work that you can do because it doesn't have a thermal sensor. But yeah, the Air 3S is probably one of the most capable drones on the market right now for the price. And so, yeah, the sky's the limit. It's great for real estate. DJI Air 3 OEM propellers are getting expensive. Interesting. What's your favorite aftermarket propeller? I do not like using aftermarket propellers because I don't trust them. The propeller is such an important, integral part of the drone that I prefer to use OEM. Unfortunately, you're going to have to do testing and maybe watch other people's reviews on that. But my rule is no aftermarket batteries and no aftermarket propellers on drones. Just use the OEM stuff. I'm kind of surprised that the OEM propellers are getting expensive. Next, if the ban does happen, what do you think if DJI kept making current drones for the US and we should get customs to back off? Wait. If the ban does happen, what do you think if DJI kept making current drones for the US market and we could get customs to back off? I mean, getting customs to back off would be a great thing. At the moment, DJI has submitted proof over and over again that DJI is being accused of something that is almost impossible to disprove. And so they've submitted plenty of documentation to customs, to CBP, so that they would lift the ban, and they're not lifting it. So, yeah. But yeah, that's probably the biggest limitation at the moment. Forget about the FCC, the potential FCC list, the CBP. All in all ban at the moment, that's really what it should be called, is the bigger issue. I like to know that I have a Mavic 2 Zoom and flying around my neighborhood and over home. Of course, is it legal? Or if somebody stops me, what should I tell them? You cannot fly over people or people in moving vehicle. That's rule number 1. You can technically fly over your neighborhood as long as you maintain visual line of sight and you don't fly over people. Should you be flying over houses, fast? Probably okay. Should you be hovering over people's houses in their backyard and that? Probably not, unless you have a good reason for, doing work for someone. But yeah, I would avoid it just because people are leery of drones. You cannot look inside of people's houses with drones, so I would definitely not do that. But yeah, that's, yep. Late to the stream, says Grant Johnson, is the DJI Neo 2 already approved by the FCC, even though it probably won't be for sale in the United States? My guess is that it is approved by the FCC, but I would have to verify and take a look. But yes, my guess is that it's already approved. Where do I need, based on, I'm saying this not out of my toot, but I'm just saying that based on some language that I've seen from DJI, pending the release of the Neo 2, that it would likely be approved. Okay. Where do I need to register my DJI Mavic 4 Pro? Where? That would be the FAA Drone Zone. Jason is going to put a link in the description. That's the place where you're going to go and log in and create an account if you haven't already, and then get that registration number. What would be a good entry-level mapping photogrammetry drone? A good entry-level drone for this is the DJI Phantom 4 Pro V2, which has been the GOAT of mapping and photogrammetry. That's, of course, if you can find one. They're getting pretty old now. Not pretty old. They're getting old. And it's harder to find them because they were so good that people are still using them in some situations. A DJI Mavic 2 Enterprise is actually probably a good entry-level drone if you can find a used one for photogrammetry. And then the Mavic 3 Enterprise, the Mavic 3 Enterprise, anything that's kind of enterprise on the DJI side is a good way to get started. How would I do mapping in the Air 3S? Difficult to do because it doesn't have a way to do pre-planned flight missions. And so as such, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. For a new drone user, how do I get over the random fear of it crashing, falling out of the sky? That goes away when you have more experience flying it. So keep flying really is the solution. Fly as high as you're comfortable, and then fly higher and higher and higher, and then eventually you'll get over that fear. Also keep in mind that these drones fly every day in a lot of places. They don't crash on their own. You're going to crash if you use the flight controls incorrectly. If you have a drone that has obstacle avoidance, turn on obstacle avoidance. It will definitely greatly reduce the chance of crashing. As far as falling out of the sky, from a realistic perspective, very, very, very unlikely to happen unless you push the battery all the way down to zero. But failures in flight are extremely rare in most reliable drones. Can DJI be upgraded to be United States compliance? I don't know what that means. There's no such thing as United States compliance. Any good supplement for DJI drones, as in accessories or as in what? Like drones that are competing with DJI? Yeah. So if you're asking about what's competing with DJI, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing flying for real estate purposes, there's really no comparison to an Air series or a Mavic series or a Mini series out there. Just not even at a higher price. It just doesn't exist unless you go, huh? Well, unless you go to a sub brand that is still DJI but under a different name, that's an option. The Sky Rover is an example. Spectre, but Spectre also kind of disappeared, so it's always difficult to say that. If you are into something where you want still the DJI look but under a different name, Anzu is made by an American company outside of China. It's a DJI, it's a Mavic 3 Enterprise, but with just a different name and a different color. It's green, and that's probably the closest thing if you want to do mapping and if you want to do other things that are where you don't have the DJI name on it. But beyond that, it's going to be very specialized drones that are made by American manufacturers that may be of good quality, but may not be attainable for something that you're getting started with. So, is there a competition? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. It depends on what you're trying to do. So I would talk to a drone reseller. They'll be able to tell you and guide you towards the models that might be equivalent to the model that you're looking for, and then tell you. But I can tell you on the consumer side, there's just no equivalent that is not a Chinese drone, period. Cavel from Texas says, I attempted to obtain a waiver to fly over people, but the FAA declined both. Does your team offer a course on how to submit waivers? Yes, we do actually. Jason will probably put a link in the description, but we do have a waiver course, and we do have services that we offer to help with waivers as well. But you should be able to fly over people. But we do have some guidance on that. If you're trying to fly over people with a drone that's less than 400 grams, we actually have a video on YouTube that's free where you can see some of the tips. And I think Vic, I haven't seen Vic in the comments today, but Vic also has a link on Drone Service Provider Alliance with some tips on how to submit a waiver to fly over people. So there are some free resources before you buy the course. If you're trying to go below 400 grams, if your drone is below 400 grams with propellers, prop guards. Okay. Planning on buying 2 Air 3S drones. If I store one of the batteries, will they be okay, or should I charge the stored batteries and use them also? The battery storage is kind of done automatically with these smart batteries. So, but I would not leave them stored forever. I would fly them every once in a while. So I would keep them in a rotation for sure.
Just like a second set of batteries for a second drone.
Yeah. What do you mean? Or
So if they bought two sets of the combo pack of batteries,
yeah, I would definitely rotate them.
you would open them, not leave them stored.
Oh no, I would definitely open them and yeah, and rotate them. If I have a registered drone as a recreational flyer, then I pass the 107. Do I need to change the registration? So the easy answer is probably, but it depends on your situation. If you have a drone, if you only have one drone and it's been registered recreationally, technically it is also good to fly under Part 107 because it's a Part 47 registration, so you should be good. If you have more than one drone, then yes, you absolutely need to register because you need a new registration number on the new drone. What do you think of the Agras T100? They are starting to get sold at dealers around the United States, it looks like. Yeah, I mean, the Agras, as far as agricultural drone, is top of the line. These are great platforms that have been around for a long time. And if you can find one for a good deal, I would definitely not hesitate. These are, yeah, just great platforms at a reasonable price for what they are. Just got my Part 107 today, thanks to your program. But my question is, with the whole new Part 108 that may come, would it be a hindrance on pilots? I work with a large oil gas company and I fly for them. No, not really. Part 108 really is not going to make 107 disappear or not as important. Is just a new set of rules to do a new set of activity. Think about it this way. It's to fly drones beyond visual line of sight. So we don't know what the final ruling will look like, but hopefully it becomes that Part 108 is the set of rules to fly BVLOS, period. Part 107 becomes the BVLOS type of rule with the non-BVLOS, the within visual line of sight rules. DJI is obviously top of the game in the consumer drone world. If they cease to exist today, who is the closest competitor? Again, consumer world, there's no competition at the moment. The closest competition, I would say, is probably Autel, and Autel is going to be having the same exact thing happen to them because they're both, Autel and DJI are listed to be added to the FCC list. So DJI and Autel, I have pretty much managed to get the whole world of consumer drones. And the sad part is there is no sign of anyone out there being interested in getting into the consumer drone world to take over DJI, even if they get banned. And so there's no signal, no indication from anyone out there. All the drone manufacturers that we're seeing right now competing with DJIs are competing on the enterprise level or competing on the public safety level, which is enterprise drones as well. Or they're just making drones for the military, which DJI is not doing. And so we're the consumer world, which is the largest portion of the drones sold in the world, especially in the United States. That market is getting completely ignored, even with the signal that DJI may get banned or may get in trouble and in the next couple of months. So yeah, I've got a hard time. I mean, I don't have a hard time. I understand why nobody is interested in getting into the consumer world, because the consumer world is cutthroat and the consumer world is a lot of work because you need to have customer service. You need to have, imagine if you sell 100 drones or you sell 50 drones to a police department or to a large enterprise user. You're really dealing with only one person technically there, probably the person in charge of the program. If you sell 50 drones to 50 individuals, now you're dealing with 50 people, and 50 people that may likely have an issue with that drone and are going to come and talk to you. And you need customer service for 50 people versus having customer service for one person or two or 10, out of the 50. So it becomes way more difficult with overhead. It means that you have drones that break and that all of a sudden end up getting returned to the manufacturer, and they have to deal with that. So the only way you can be successful on the consumer side of things is by mass producing drones and having a lot of them. And you have to have the ability to start this. DJI built this over time. They were first kind of in the wave of doing this, and they were able to build the infrastructures to build millions of drones, to support millions of drones, to ship them, to get the parts for them at a low cost, and to do all these things. And so yes, they've created this empire, and now you'd have to start from scratch to compete against that. Even if DJI doesn't exist, the demand is still going to be there tomorrow. So do you have enough to fulfill that demand in the United States? And the answer is no. At the moment, if you put all of the drone manufacturers in the United States together and you ask them to make enough drones to fulfill the demand of DJI, they just don't have the ability to do it. Now, can you get there? Potentially, yeah, you could. I mean, DJI did it. Why not? Is it going to take a long time? Yeah, it is going to take a long time. So I think in the meantime, there's no answer. And the folks that are pushing for these bans, unfortunately, are putting their head in the sand when it comes to these issues. Not their problem, right? They get paid for pushing this regulation, and they're happy. But as far as fixing the problems down the road, they don't give a shit. And so, and they don't give a shit about you not being able to find a drone. And that's the sad reality. And yeah, that's kind of where we are.
I missed the beep.
Yep, I'm glad you were able to beep the bad words. Next. Thoughts on using drones for coding cell towers. What is coding cell towers? What are you applying to the cell towers? I don't know what coding cell towers means.
Maybe something similar would be like the pressure wash drones that do.
Well, so cell towers typically are privately owned by by companies. There's one main one that owns a lot of them, and they're not going to let you touch these cell towers. So I don't know what coding cell towers. Maybe you can explain a little bit in more detail. Do you think Rick Scott's pockets are being lined by Skydio? Any thoughts on his motivation? You know, I know people like picking on Skydio because for a while it was pretty clear that they were spending some money to, you know, lobby against DJI. I don't think they're necessarily the villain that people make them to be. And I'm not saying that they're clean either, but I'm just saying that I don't think they're the villain, the only villain out there. Let's put it this way. I do think they had something to do with this at the beginning, and I think they quickly realized also the bad press that they were getting out of this. Are these politicians getting their pockets lined? Absolutely, and that's going to be from the lobbying organizations out there that are doing this more than anybody else. But yeah, just my take on that. But yeah, their motivation is purely political. There's no goodwill in any of this. These lobbying organizations are lining their pockets with money from companies that are lobbying. And again, like I said, the one you just mentioned is not, I think, the leading company that leads the charge in this. Ooh. That's nice. Where's Vic? Yeah, Vic, that's a little bit high. Oh, in a plane. I haven't talked to Vic in a while, actually. He's been busy and we've been busy. We've been traveling. He's been traveling. We've all been busy. What is a good drone for someone's first time getting into the drone business? Air 3S is a great drone from DJI. I think even an Air 2S, if you can find one. A bit older, but also a great platform. Those are great drones for the price to get you started. Can DJI drones be upgraded or hacked or changed where it can be safe to fly if the ban does go through? Remember, the DJI being added to the FCC list does not change anything mechanically to your drone. It is not going to get bricked tomorrow. If the SEC decided, they said, every DJI drone tomorrow is banned because we retroactively remove their approval, which is not going to happen. But if they decided to do this, it doesn't change anything to the fact that you could still turn on your drone, turn on your controller, and go fly from a technical perspective. It doesn't change. It's not going to get bricked. They don't have the ability to turn off your connection between the drone and the controller. So you'd still be able to fly it from a physical perspective. Yeah, it sounds like the beep didn't work, Ben. We got to work on that.
It might have been the delay.
Oh, maybe it was the delay. Yeah. I guess they heard, like Jonathan said, he heard the truth. Oh, that's because you didn't. Yeah, the bleep only removes the non-truth. That's why. How have some businesses like Walmart and Amazon been delivering via drones prior to BV loss? Waivers. They have waivers to do all of this. The FAA has a process in place to do drone deliveries beyond visual line of sight for commercial purposes. It's called Part 135 approval, and that's what they've been doing. Without DJI, do you anticipate a slowdown in Part 107 certifications? No, not really, actually. And this might be an interesting take on this. But I do believe that folks are going to find a way to... And first off, DJI is still going to be here. Those drones are still going to be sold everywhere else in the world except in the United States. And I do believe that people are going to get crafty and that... people are going to continue to get the drones. Case in point, we just went to the Vegas drone meetup, and 99.9% of the drones there were DJI drones, and a good portion of them were drones that are technically not sold in the United States right now. So a big fat middle finger to the lobbyist right there, because these drones are still getting purchased and they're still coming to the United States one way or another. And people are crafty. I've said that for several years now. When they started talking about this DJI shenanigans, people are crafty. People are going to find ways to bring these drones here and fly them. There's always going to be somebody who has a financial motive to make a dollar in selling these drones on the gray market, on the black market, whatever color market you want to call it, on the green market. Maybe even the blue market, and be able to sell these drones. Again, case in point, the Mini 5 Pro is not available anywhere in the US, except, well, it is available in the US. The Mavic 4 Pro is out there flying. We saw a few of them, quite a few of them. This is not a cheap drone. We saw a few of them. I saw more Mavic 4 Pros than I saw Mavic 3 Pros at this event. And I saw almost as many Mini 5s as I saw Mini 4s and Mini 3s. So people will get crafty. People will get parts. People will get these drones delivered through a different market, and people are going to continue flying them. So I do not actually believe that this is going to have an effect on certification. I think people are just going to continue doing what they do. I think it's going to hurt public safety agencies, that's for sure. But I think public safety agencies are just going to either not fly drones, unfortunately, or they're going to be forced to buy more expensive packages. And maybe they'll get fewer drones, but they'll still fly, in which case they'll still get certified. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Just past my 107 says Gear Buyer's Guide. Wanted to thank Pilot Institute for amazing tools, amazing in all caps, test videos and resources. You really help make the information understandable. Love it. I love to see people succeeding. I think this is amazing. Yep, the group picture was taken with a Mavic 4 Pro at the meetup. Absolutely. You get it, Dre. Are other DJI products also included in the possible ban? Vacuum, Osmo, Nano, and or are drones the only one under the microscope? No, it would be anything that has an FCC approval. So Vacuum, I haven't seen. I mean, I've seen the vacuum, but I haven't seen the details on the vacuum. But I'm guessing that the vacuum has a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi chip to connect to your phone, in which case it would be FCC approved. Actually, if it has Bluetooth, it's FCC approved. So that would be not possible to be approved for future models. The what else? The Osmo, yeah. Osmo has also a way to communicate with the phone, so that would be FCC approved. And then the Nano camera as well. What's the Nano camera?
It's like an action
Oh, the tiny one.
camera. And then what about like a DJI Ronin?
The Ronin would also be affected, even though it's just a gimbal, but the gimbal has the ability to Bluetooth connect. So yeah. Yep. Do you think if DJI gets banned, should we be worried DJI apps will be removed from phone app stores? I thought about that recently. Again, this would only have to be if there was a proof that there was a ban, that there was something nefarious happening, like they were going to do with TikTok. There are other apps. I'm not worried about that, and I'll tell you what. There are other apps that can be used to control the drone. So, for example, Aloft Air Control talks to the DJI drones and has the ability to fly them without the DJI app. So you'd still be able to do that. Also, if you have a controller, the app is already installed on there, so they would not be able to delete the app from your controller. So I don't see that as a viable option. I work in advertising and use the Neo 2 for B-roll in some social media. I'm not monetized, but am I breaking the law by not having? Yeah, you work in advertising. So if you use for B-roll and social video, yes, absolutely. You need Part 107. Anytime you say, I'm using the footage to do X, Y, and Z, and if it's not recreational, it's Part 107. Engineer Drone Services says, Jillian will be mad at me. Good. But I have to ask if there will be any Black Friday sales on Pilot Institute courses. Yes, there will be. The Black Friday ads are getting edited as we speak, and I think we're going live with them next week, the 19th. So a little bit over Wednesday of next week. The Black, I probably wasn't supposed to say that, but we'll see. Too late. Now you've heard it here first. Yeah, I think it's gonna be done. So. Dre says, I like that shirt. Yep. Can't have that shirt. You know that. You tried to steal a shirt off my back, literally, at the event in Vegas. Rude. No. But he got a Greg Bubblehead, so he's probably looking at the Greg Bubblehead right now. Yep. FUVSI smells like a baby diaper. That is very true. Thanks, Sparky. And with that being said, this is 4:57. If you have any more questions, I think it's the end of the show. Yeah, good stuff. The ability to get updates of currently owned DJI drone after a ban would travel in and out of the country through customs change if ban. No, I think this is a stretch. There is no, that would not happen. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to end it. It's 5 o'clock here. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock here for sure. We'll be back on Friday for news updates. Make sure you chime in. And then we'll be back next Monday for another live Q&A. I think we've got live Q&A coming up for a little while here without interruption until the holidays. And then, yeah, good stuff. All right, fly safe. Don't be that guy. Don't want to talk about you on Friday. And then we'll see you next time.